So Croatia, the most recent country to join the EU, announced it'd be switching its currency over to the euro. You might assume they'd be the last country to do so, but you would assume wrong, because fun fact, 6 separate EU member states do not use the euro. And here's the question, is that a bug or is that a feature? And funnily enough, it seems like a bug because the European Union does mandate that every country joining the bloc does switch over to its currency. The euro is the mandatory currency for this bloc because it makes cross-border trade a lot easier. So how is it that Denmark, Sweden, Poland, Romania, as well as Hungary and Czechia are getting away without switching to the currency? And that is a really fun question in my opinion, because Denmark just has a simple agreement with the EU. They were in the club really early on, and so they said, yeah, we want nothing to do with that euro nonsense, and they have a specific agreement saying never do they have to use the euro. Eventually, there'll be 26 EU member states using the euro, and there'll be Denmark using the Danish crown. That is legally what is set in stone. However, what about the other 5 countries which aren't currently shifting over to the euro? And the answer to that is this fun game of what do you do when the European Union says you have to do something and when you really don't want to? And the answer is you play a fun game of chicken. You play, you do what government does best, and you slow things down and you come up with reasons why you can't do it. You run studies, etc. And the way they do it is, well, Sweden has a referendum saying their people don't want to join the euro, so they're going to, meet their legal requirements to join the euro, while also kind of not. So to join the euro, you have to have a stabilized currency that can be shifted over. This means meeting the standards for the European exchange rate mechanism, and basically it means you have to have a certain amount of government deficits and your currency has to not fluctuate too much. And so by deliberately ignoring these requirements, their currency physically doesn't meet the EU requirements to shift to the euro, and so like, oh no, what can we do? Our currency's just not stable, it just doesn't meet the requirements, and oh, we really want to join the euro, but you say that we can't join the euro unless we do this, and we're just not doing this, and even if they did meet all those requirements, oh, we're just not in the mechanism yet, but we will get around to doing that, trust us, sometime soon we will totally. And so that is what Sweden, Poland, and indeed every other EU member state that wants to keep its own currency is doing. You might wonder, like, well, why are they even doing this? And the answer, why only these countries? You'd figure surely France or Germany or even like a Spain or a Finland would be getting on board with this. The answer is that early on, the euro was a very popular currency. One currency to cross all of Europe with sounded like an amazing idea. That's why the whole of the EU was meant to be on board with it. But as the EU currency has gone on, more and more scandals have kind of struck it, and countries are deciding, let's wait this out a bit. Let's see how this one goes, because it'll be much harder for, say, France to exit its currency or do something with that than it would be for Poland or Sweden, who still are in control of their mints. Funnily enough, Denmark, although it has its own currency and legally can do whatever it wants with it, it actually has its currency effectively fixed to the euro, and so it's sort of using the euro, but the other 5 countries, they're playing a fun game of how long can we not fix our currency to the euro for, and it looks like they're doing quite well. Also, just as a fun aside, because within the European Union, only 3/4 of its members actually use its currency, the US dollar is not only accepted in all 50 states, as well as the 5 territories of the US, but it's also accepted in 11 other nations around the world. And fun fact, one of the, I think it's crazy when you look at the list, by the way, but fun fact, one of those nations is actually the Netherlands. I mean, it's the Caribbean territories, but still, there is a European country within the EU that is using the dollar, and there are EU countries within the EU that are not using the euro. And isn't that just beautiful? I think so. And here's a little short video. Let me know what you thought of the shorter format.